Hello dear students, today we are going to study about chapter 32 of CRPC, which relates to execution, suspension, remission and commutation of the sentences. So in the last class we studied about the judgment. When we were studying about judgment, we saw that after the trial is completed, a judge gives his judgment, the decision in that case, and the judgment is to be executed. The next step after the judgment is the execution of judgment, and how this execution is done has been mentioned under this chapter. So today we are going to study about chapter 32. So let's start with this chapter. This chapter has been divided into 5 parts. First part talks about execution of death sentences, second about imprisonment, third about levy of fine. So it talks about execution of 3 types of sentences, either death, imprisonment and levy of fine. Part D is the general provision, since part E is about suspension, remission and commutation. So I will not take this chapter section wise, rather I'll just tell you some important points which are relevant in this chapter. So let's start with death sentence. So first thing which this chapter provides is that execution of death sentence. Now in last class we studied that a death sentence is to be confirmed by the High Court. If a Sessions Court passes a death sentence, it is to be confirmed by the High Court. Once a death sentence is confirmed by the High Court, the Sessions Court may order its execution. How? It is ordered by the warrant of execution. Death warrant is issued by the Sessions Court, by the court which has passed the sentence, and then it will be executed. Now, if a sentence of death has been passed by the High Court in an appeal or revision, then that sentence will be sent back to the Court of Session, and the Court of Session will issue a warrant, and that death will then the sentence of death will be executed. Now again, if an appeal is preferred before the Supreme Court, then the execution of death sentence will be postponed. How? Now suppose if a person appeals before the Supreme Court under 134 after getting the certificate, till the appeal has been decided by the Supreme Court, this sentence will not be executed. Second condition, if a person applies before the High Court for issuing of a certificate to appeal before the Supreme Court, till the High Court decides whether this person should be given the certificate or not, till that time this sentence will not be executed. Third condition, if the court believes that a person is going to prefer an appeal under 136 of the Constitution before the Supreme Court, then also till the appeal is preferred or till the appeal is decided by the Supreme Court, the sentence of death will not be executed. Now this was about execution of death sentences. One more important section in this part is that is section 416, which talks about execution of death sentence on pregnant women. Now if a death sentence is passed against a woman and it comes to the notice that this woman is pregnant, then in that case the death sentence will not be executed. In fact, it will be commuted to life imprisonment. This was done by the amendment of 2009. Earlier, the provision was that the sentence will not be executed till she gives birth or till the termination of a pregnancy. After that, the sentence may be executed. But after the 2009 amendment, it has been done away with, and the position has changed. If the sentence of death is passed against a woman who is pregnant, then the sentence will be commuted to life imprisonment, provided under section 416. Now we'll come to next part B, which talks about imprisonment. So when we were studying about judgment, we saw that when a judgment is pronounced in an open court, the accused needs to be present in the court. If he is not there, he may be called by a summon or warrant. He may be arrested and brought before the court. When a judgment is pronounced, for its execution, that person is sent to a jail, to a prison, and that warrant is sent to the officer in charge of that prison, and then the sentence of imprisonment is executed. Now suppose if the person is not present there, if the person is not present in the court, then the court may issue an arrest warrant against that person and say that this person may be arrested and sent to the jail for execution of his sentence. Now, suppose there is a condition where the accused is neither present or the sentence which has been authorized by the court to the person who is already in custody or already in jail, then what will happen? Then this warrant which is directed to the authority, the prison authorities or the officer in charge of the prison will execute that and will execute the sentence once the sentence which is already going on is completed. If the sentence which is if the sentence of imprisonment which is passed by the court says that the sentence will be not concurrent, but it will be executed with the sentence which has been passed by the court. Now, in relation to a fine will also be executed in the same way. A fine will be executed by giving a warrant of execution in relation to a fine. A fine will be collected by the person. We have already studied in IPC that if the person defaults giving fine, he may be put behind bars, he may be imprisonment for that. What is the limit of imprisonment? You have already studied in IPC. So if a person against whom a warrant of levy of fine is to be executed, that person may be put behind bars, the fine may be collected, or the judge may also order, or the court may also order that the person may execute a bond for giving the fine, or the court may also order that the fine may be given into 2 or 3 installments instead of sending him into prison or sending him to a jail. So this is the provisions for execution of warrants given under this part of chapter 32. Again, after that we have general provisions. Under general provisions, we know that who may issue the warrant. So the court which has given the decision, which has passed the sentence, will issue the warrant for execution, and any successor in office may also issue the warrant. After that, these are the just general provisions which are related to this. Like if a person already has gone into prison for some time, that period of time will be computed, or that period of time will be it will be rounded off against the imprisonment which has been given to this person. Now suppose if a person has already gone for 1 year into the prison and the sentence is for 2 years, so now the person will have to go only for 1 year into the prison. Rest of the period will be rounded off from the period which he has already served in the prison. Now after that, if the warrant is executed, it will be returned back to the court. The person who has executed the warrant, and the person responsible for the execution of such sentence will return back that warrant once that warrant is being executed to the court which has issued that warrant. After that, we have part E, which talks about suspension, remission and commutation of sentences. So we already know what is suspension. Suspension is for a indefinite period stopping the execution of the sentence. Remission is lessening the amount of punishment and without changing the nature of the punishment. Now suppose if a person has been given simple imprisonment for 6 months, under remission the time period for sentence can be made to reduce to 3 months, and just by that. And under commutation the nature of imprisonment or the nature of sentence is changed. Suppose if a person is given death sentence, under commutation his death sentence may change into life imprisonment. In the same way, if a person is given life imprisonment, under commutation his life imprisonment may be changed into imprisonment for any period of time. So under part E of this chapter, it says that any person may apply to the appropriate government for the suspension or remission of the sentence. Suspension and remission of sentence can be applied before the appropriate government. Definition of appropriate government has already been provided under IPC. I believe you all know that. In case you want to revise, please go through chapter 3 of the IPC. You will get to know what is the appropriate definition of appropriate government. Again, the state government may also commute a sentence of death and life imprisonment and imprisonment of any period of time. So these can be done by the state government, but in doing commutation, the state government has to consult sometimes to the central government if any offences which is involved is in relation to damage to the property of the central government, or in relation to any person of the central government, any accused who is a employee of the central government, or any against any offence which has been investigated by the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act, that is CPI. If any offence is investigated by CPI, in that case the state government cannot give commutation on his own behalf. The state government will have to consult the central government to give commutation in that case. So these were the important provisions of this chapter. Just go through this chapter, just read every section of this chapter. You will easily understand what has been provided under this. The relevant case laws I will be sending you through email. In case of any queries or doubts, you can contact me. Thank you.